And welcome back to Habs Unfiltered, episode 432. I'm your host, Blaine Pudvey, and I'm joined by my co host, Matt Smith,
Good evening.
and a special returning guest who's basically a friggin' co host at this point, Lyle Richardson.
The
Welcome back.
returning three-time champion. Yes. Great to be back again, guys.
Yeah, you're basically a host of the show at this point.
That's true.
And I have to gonna have to talk to my agent. Here we go.
You're definitely going to, you know what? We're going to take Treg's pay and give it to you because you've been here more than Treg.
Hey, I need more Canadian Tire money. Thanks.
Yeah, that's how we pay him.
That's how we roll. Yeah.
That and protein shakes.
Does love his protein shakes.
Yeah. Okay, no, I don't need protein shakes. The coffee crisp and I'm good. So there
Done.
we go.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, so this episode we're going to cover off a bunch of stuff, the deadline, how their season's going. We'll just dive right into it. So we'll just start off with a quick look back at the deadline, real quick, because this is almost like beating a dead horse at this point. But essentially, did Montreal do enough by just holding on to their own rentals?
I think they did. I think that the reason why they did it was coming out of the Four Nations, having won, five straight and putting themselves back into the race. That changed the whole thing, I think, for Kent Hughes. And rather than trade away Yoel Armia, David Savard, and Christian Dvorak, because he'd already decided he was going to be re-signing Jake Evans. Um, they want to hang on to those guys for the experience down the stretch. I mean, he basically said as much after the deadline. He felt that it would be more beneficial to have those veterans there that the youngsters can lean on down the stretch for that experience and that leadership that they need while they battle for a playoff spot. And listen, even if they don't make the playoffs, again, the mission statement at the start of the season was we want to be playing meaningful games down the stretch. And now this is their opportunity. And he's given the kids, it's like, okay, this is what you wanted. You wanted to keep together. Now go get them. So,
Yeah, well, they do have one of the easiest schedules
hmm
remaining.
hmm
And since the break, they're 7-1-1. So they got about
yeah,
almost an 800 win percentage at this point.
hmm
That's not going to be sustained, but with the ease of schedule and the teams are up against are the Red Wings, the Rangers, and the Blue Jackets at this point for that last spot.
4 point games right there. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're going to be playing them again, all of
hmm
them. So I don't know. I think by holding on to Armia and Evans, re-signing Evans, that was a massive plus.
hmm
Um, Savard, while his mentorship is going to be highly influential for this young group going forward, I'm not sure how much of an impact he's going to have on the ice. A positive one, anyway.
hmm
He's looked at his play recently. It's not been the greatest,
Yeah.
but he has been overused, in my opinion.
Yeah. On a deeper team, he's seeing sheltered third pairing minutes at this
Exactly.
stage in his career. Yeah.
And there's even whispers of he's second guessing his NHL career going forward after this season.
hmm he is uncertain. He did say in an interview that he's kind of uncertain where his career goes after this. I think he knows the end is near, right? But at least, you know, he's helping a team, a young team, developing team, kind of get it some real experience that they're going to need going forward. Now you're playing meaningful games down the stretch. You have a good shot at making the playoffs. It's not guaranteed, and it's gonna be hard, especially because you've got Detroit is they're trying to stave off another collapse that they had last year. You got Columbus that they got so much motivation going right now. I mean, they've stumbled a bit now, but that's to be expected. But that doesn't mean that they're collapsing. You got Ottawa, who they are rejuvenated having Dylan Cousins in that lineup. Dylan Cousins is playing like a man who escaped from jail.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's playing like there's a huge weight off his shoulders. He's a perfect fit with Ottawa. So, now you've got a far more motivated and rejuvenated Senators team. They could be difficult to catch. If they start pulling away here in the next week or two, then it's basically going to be Montreal's battle will be just for that final wild card berth and
Yeah.
not one of two. And of course, you still have the Rangers. They're not giving up. The Bruins, they're hanging in there. So there's not going to be any easy games, but going down the stretch here, it's going to have kind of like a playoff feel, and that's something we haven't seen in Montreal in a few years. So that's good as well. That's good for the fans, something to come out and really get excited for, and that will help, the team on the ice. So
It is
Yeah.
nice to
And
see not the big sell-off like we're used to seeing.
yeah,
yeah.
yep,
Ken Hughes went out and he said to Nick Suzuki, this is what my plan was for these players. Put the team on your back and let's see what happens. And since then, Nick Suzuki has been a standout. He put the team on his back, and that top line has really flourished since that's happened.
yeah, big time. I mean, and you can see it in Slafkovsky. I love the fact that after the Four Nations, he said that he'd watched Brady Tkachuk and said, "That's the way I want to play." If he's going to start playing like Brady Tkachuk,
Yeah, look
oh
out.
man, oh man, oh boy, yeah, this finally, right? It's like, okay, now maybe he's kind of got it figured out, because that's always kind of been like it's like he's trying to figure out what kind of player he wants to be. We know he's a playmaker, but what else can he be? And by the way, coming off the left wing and knowing that stuff, have you noticed like he's had 3 goals from that same spot on the
Yeah.
rush? He
Yeah,
is roofing it and beating them. That's deadly. That is
yeah.
absolutely deadly. So,
But just
Well,
2 months ago, he wouldn't even take that shot.
oh God, no,
well,
he'd be looking to pass.
well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. We always know that this guy had a shot.
Yeah.
And when you look at him when he was in the Olympics, and yes, people are going to say it was a watered down Olympics, but it was still the Olympics.
Yes.
And he was there as a 18-year-old, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up
17.
being the
17.
right and ended up being the MVP, and
Yep.
that's nothing to shake a stick at.
No.
He he
No, it's
still
not.
he still played very well and ended up leaving the Olympic Games with a bronze medal.
Yeah. And MVP
So
honors, as you pointed out. So,
absolutely. So we
yeah.
know that shot's always been there.
Yep.
It's however, you're playing on a line with Cole Caulfield, it's very easy to think pass,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
think as he puts the puck in the net and as the points start to go up, and we're seeing, let's call it second half Slav again.
Yeah. Again.
He's building up that momentum, and I agree with that the statement that you made with about Brady Tkachuk. Like any player that says that's how I want to play, he's going to make an impact, and we
Oh
know that
yeah.
he's going to be there for a good long time. And as a 20-year-old coming out and saying like that, and he's already has the size that he's got,
Mm-hmm.
sky's the limit for this player.
Yep. Yep.
Well, that's the thing. Like he's huge, so he can
No.
he can decide to take over a game if he wants. So
Mm-hmm.
figuring out that fact, like to him, it's normal to be a massive mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people, you know, most people, if they saw that out on the street, would be shocked by how big he is. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
met him on his draft day when he
Yeah.
just turned 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
He was a
it was
big lad.
massive.
I mean, I seen the footage. Just for me, just seeing the footage of him during the in the when they test the prospects,
The
the
combine.
combine.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm old and sometimes words elude me. But seeing the footage of the combine of him doing the cardio on the bike, I mean, I'm surprised he didn't destroy the bike.
Yeah.
The way
He almost did.
like he was attacking, it was like he was attacking the bike, It was like the bike owed him money and he was going to beat the crap out of it. I mean, it was, and I saw that, I'm like, good God, can you imagine what he's going to be like in a few years? So you're right. He's soon going to be reaching the point where he's going to be able to take over games single-handedly. He's not there yet, but that confidence is coming.
Well, if
But
he plays with a little bit of a mean streak, like right
mm,
now, he's skating as if he's angry at the ice. Like
yeah,
he's beating the door down. So if he can play like that more regularly,
yeah,
we'll see a dominant player. But
yeah,
if it means that he has a slow start to the year and he really comes on in the second half, I'll live with that because that means by the time the playoffs start, he'll be in his zone.
Yeah.
Hey, he's Jerome McGinley. That was always a knock against Iggy. The
Yep.
first couple months of the season, well, took him a while to get going, and then once December hit, it was like, okay, the switch got flicked, and he'd go on a tear. And the guy's
Right.
in the Hockey Hall of Fame with over 600 goals. So, and Calgary Flames fans will tell you that's the guy we want.
Right.
We want him on top of his game down the stretch heading into the playoffs at his best. That's what you want. So, yeah. The one thing though I do want to say is looking at Nick Suzuki now is kind of the change in his demeanor. Like you can tell, like he's kind of like almost got like a Jonathan Toews sort of Captain Serious look
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, that goal he scored the other night. I mean, I
The
mean,
Vancouver goal. Yeah.
anybody else would have been like dancing up a storm, and understandably, that was a wicked deke just to pull that and then slide it in on the back end. Beautiful. And he just acted like it's just another day at the
Yeah.
office. It was
Drop
just
the
like
puck. Let's drop the puck. Let's go.
just not exactly.
Yeah.
It was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go. It was just like,
We
yeah,
got 59 more minutes of hockey to play. Let's do
yeah.
Right.
this.
It's like we got a long way to go here, boys. Okay, that's one. Let's go. Let's get some more. And that's a big, big change. And you're seeing it too at a Cole Caulfield as well.
Yeah.
Now, when he scores a big goal, oh yeah, he's still goal Caulfield Selly, which is great. But you see when if it's earlier in the game or something like that, or if they're down by a couple, whatever, or if they're up by a couple and he snipes now, it's just like, yep, okay, let's go. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, they're acting like they've been there. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Well, they kind of have. I mean, both those
Yeah.
players have been to a Stanley Cup final, and
And that's a thing too as well. When they finally get, I mean, getting down the stretch, I think you're going to start to see some of them really start to look towards Suzuki and Caulfield as well for this stage. And if they actually do get into the playoffs, whether it's this year or next year or the year after, those two guys are going to take on even bigger roles when a postseason begins. Because,
Absolutely.
as you said, they have been there. I mean, Suzuki's been there twice and Caulfield once. So they do have an idea of what it's like, and especially what it's like to get all the way to the big dance itself. So yeah,
exactly. And Suzuki was mentored underneath Captain Sirius in Shea Weber,
in Shea
so
Weber.
it makes
Yep.
sense that he would
Mm-hmm.
emulate some of that
Yep.
approach.
Yep. He's not man mountain physically, but he definitely he picked up that act like you've been here, kid.
He's got a little bit of that greasiness to his game too, like Plekanec had. You could see him
Yeah.
just stick the guy a little bit, maybe give him a little shot in
Mm-hmm.
the back of the head. All
Yep.
the just subtle jabs to piss off the other team, get
Yep.
under their skin. He's
Yep.
really good at that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. John Cooper, I still remember the handshake line 4 years ago when John Cooper told him, "You're going to be a great player." John Cooper saw it, you know, back then what was coming with him. And yeah, we're starting to see the full development or that development now that's really starting to come forward. As I said, they may not make the playoffs this year. They're in tough, guys. We know that. I mean, but look where they are. I mean, we had written them off a month ago. A month ago, we're going into Four Nations. They were 1-7-1,
Yeah.
and here they are now. What is it? 7-1-1, 8-1-1,
7-1-2 or something like
7-1 and
that.
2,
Yeah. Something like
whatever.
that.
Hey, they've won a lot more than they've
Yeah.
lost, and that's the main thing. It picked up points in all but one. So massive turnaround. Yeah, that break did him a world of good. And we talked about it my last time I was on the show, Blaine, as well. It did Lane Hudson a world of good too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It
He
did.
he
Well, look at him.
needed that. He
Look at him
was
now.
running out of gas. You could tell that, again, not being used to it at this level, as a rookie, having played college hockey, that yeah, he was hitting the wall there by mid-January. And now it's like he's back, he's rejuvenated, and I mean, hell, 2 points last night, He's the rookie scoring leader right now,
Yep.
51 points, I believe.
51 points. Yeah.
51 points. So, he's right back into the conversation for the Calder. Well, he's been in the conversation all season long.
You
But
think he's the favorite?
back in January when Blaine and I talked, yeah, he was my coming out of the first for the first half. He was my guy, not because I'm a Habs fan and or anything like that. It was like seriously looking at everybody else. the fact he plays big minutes, been given all this responsibility, that he just keeps continually improving. He's a wizard with that puck on his stick. Yeah. But now, I mean, you got Dustin Wolf in Calgary. I mean, he's carrying that team,
Yeah.
keeping them in there. Celebrini has just been fantastic. I mean, for missing almost the first month of the season and then coming on and doing what he's been doing in San Jose. I mean, San Jose, yeah, now they're still losing a lot of games, but they're not getting blown apart like they were like last season. They're
Right.
they're losing by one, maybe two goals. They're close games. They're close games. So they're going to be a much better team going forward, and that's because of a guy like Celebrini. And then of course Michkov in Philly. Now, I don't think Michkov is going to win it because he's got a consistency issue. I mean, he got benched the other night again by Torts. Torts laying down the tough love, but it's worth it. But yeah, it's Hudson, Michkov, Celebrini, and Wolf. Everybody else is
Yeah.
down. It's between those four, and one of those four is not going to make the cut. It will probably be Michkov unless he goes on one
I think
hell
so
of a
too.
tear.
I
Yeah.
think so too.
Then it's down to Wolf, Celebrini, and Hudson, and either one of those guys would definitely be worthy for the Calder the way they played.
Well, what was it? Moriali at NHL.com did a assessment of that already and placed Hudson at the top of the list right now,
Yeah. Not
Hmm.
by
which
much.
not by a lot, but
Yeah.
still at the
Yep.
top.
Absolutely.
And to me, that does make sense. I mean, he's a guy
Hmm.
who's putting up points. He's
Yep.
he's the top power play on the top pairing. He's making a massive impact to his team on in a
Oh,
playoff run.
Where
So
would
that
where would the
counts.
Habs be without Lane Hudson this season? They wouldn't be
Where
where
San
they are
Jose
right
is
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
another top five pick, easy.
Yep. And now we're
So
looking at a pick that could be, depending where they finish, could be middle of the pack.
Yeah.
12 to 15 somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Calgary's.
And Calgary's as well.
Right.
So they'll have two mid round picks.
Damn it, Wolf.
Stop being so damn good. Jeez,
And that's
kid.
another guy. Massive impact to his team. He's carrying
Oh,
the Flames into a playoff spot
yep.
as a rookie goaltender. So
As a rookie goalie.
these that has to count for something. Like
Absolutely.
Celebrini,
Yeah.
as good as he is,
Yeah.
the team sucks.
Yeah.
It
Whereas,
does, but again, you can see the improvement though with him
yes.
and Will Smith as well.
Oh yeah.
Will
Yeah.
Smith had a slow start, but geez, since mid-December, I mean, you look at his stats, and now he's averaging almost a point per game now. I mean, he's found his comfort zone playing on the wing. They got him on the right wing, and they're keeping Celebrini, okay, as a center. And yeah, they are a much better team. And of course, they got our boy Tyler Toffoli there.
I
God
was gonna
bless him.
say,
Oh man, he's love that guy. I will love that guy forever. He's been just terrific. The fact he's gone to so many teams. Somebody's gonna look at his
yeah,
hockey card in 20 years and go, geez, this guy got put up good numbers, but man, he bounced around so much. He must have been a dressing room cancer. It's just like, no, he was just a victim of bad luck.
Right.
Each team he went to was either about to rebuild or they didn't have enough money to pay him. And yeah.
well, he did a good job mentoring guys like Suzuki and Caulfield when they
Oh
first showed up.
yes. Oh
And now you
yes.
see what he's doing in San Jose,
Same
having
thing.
sleepovers and dunking Oreo cookies in milk. And uh,
Oh yeah, but he's definitely a team guy. I mean, but you can
yes,
see
he
it.
is.
He
Yeah.
and he's really working well. He plays a lot on Celebrini's line. And
Yes.
that's not for nothing, man. He's doing that because he's a reliable guy. And he's working well, helping the kid learn the ropes. And that's why I said, I mean, Celebrini, I mean, I get to your point to get back to what we were saying about, yeah, with Wolf and Hudson, that they're definitely playing more impact roles on teams that are battling for playoff berths right now.
Mhm.
But, with Celebrini,
Pure
he
skill.
is making the Sharks a better team. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still losing, but as I said, now they're only losing by one or two goals. Those games are close. Most of their losses are close now. They're not getting blown out by three, four, five goals, and looking terrible like they did last season. Where last season, if you lost to the Sharks, it was an embarrassment. You know, it was. It was like, how could
Habs
you
fans
lose
know.
two easy points? Jesus. And now it's like you can't sleep on the Sharks now. You can't. They will bite you.
And To bring it back to the Canadians in that top line again,
Mm.
do you guys feel like this is truly an elite top line because their numbers put them near the top of the NHL in possession and points and all the other metrics? They're up there. So is
Yeah,
this a legitimate elite top line?
I believe they are. I think look, I get, wanting to try and spread the offense around, so you try and maybe move Slav around to the second line and see how that's going to work. Honestly, keeping together. Keeping together, you're going to be keeping together anyway because Demidov's coming next year. And if you put him on the same, hopefully, fingers crossed, put him on the same line with line A, and if you get a good second line center in there, now you could have yourself a very good second line. Keep these guys together. They work
Agreed.
so well together. And right now they are carrying Montreal. Let's be honest. They are carrying Montreal right now. It's a good thing that Line A came back from the flu last night. They needed his offense. Got a goal and an assist,
Yeah.
whatever the illness was,
Yeah,
Still got
the
the four
flu.
still
Wink,
got
wink.
the Four Nations hangover, yeah.
Yeah.
But they needed that offense, and like they said, they were kind of sleepwalking until he cranked in that power play goal, and that woke him up and got him going.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring in Demidov, bring in a reliable second line center. It's not going to be Alex Newhook. Too bad. Hey, it was a nice try, Kent. Good reclamation project. He's a third liner, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd have to agree. I'd
And
have to agree. Keep the guys together. You have
yeah,
to. And it can't be to the detriment of the team to be like, hey, our second line isn't going, so we got to break up the top guys. When you look at all the top teams in the league, they have an established first line.
yep,
And I'm not going to compare them to, say, the Bruins line that was so deadly for the longest time, but look how good that line was.
mm-hmm.
you didn't break them up to
And
spread out the
they did
offense.
not break them up to spread out the
No,
offense.
no,
All
they
they
did
would
not.
do is they would double shift a guy here or there,
Yep,
and that's what the Canadians are doing too. And I think
yep,
that's what they have to do moving forward. All these guys are signed to contracts; they're all together. Keep them together.
yep. Agreed.
And that brings me to another question. With the two first round picks, Lyle, you were talking about the second line center,
Hmm.
um, and with Hughes having two first rounders and all those picks and prospects,
Mm.
he should be able to get that.
Yeah. That's the thing. He's gonna go hunting again. He's gonna do his off-season hunting trip. And yeah, he's got the ammunition. As you said, two first rounders. Granted, they're probably going to be middle of the first round, depending on how things drop, but it looks now they'll be between 10 and 20. And yeah, you've got a bunch of second rounders. You've got some prospects there too that you could move. I mean, dare I throw out the name Logan Mailloux, but possible. But regardless, you've got some trade capital you can use, and he's probably going to be using it to go shopping for a second line center who's in their mid to late 20s and is signed beyond next season. That's got some term left on the contract. He could go, yeah. If worse comes to worse, he could go to the rental market, but that's a tough sell, and then you're going to have to overpay a guy to come to Montreal. And the reason why isn't because Montreal is French and expensive. It's because most unrestricted free agent centers, if you get a chance, folks, when you're listening in, go take a look at Puckpedia and take a look at the unrestricted free agents for this summer and look at the centers and then look at their ages.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not exactly the year to go out to sign that big name
No,
UFA.
no, it's not. I mean, oh yeah, Brock Nelson, well, he's 34. Do you really want to ink him for 5 years and overpay for him? Matt Duchene, forget it. He's not going anywhere. If he moves on, he's not coming to Canada. Um, yeah, though that's kind of the guys that you've got. They're guys in their mid to late 30s, and they're going to want to their preference will be to either sign with a playoff contender, or if they've got to sign with a rebuilding team, it'll be one somewhere nice and warm where they
Yeah.
can enjoy their quiet time away.
I think the
Okay.
one that really stands out that's in that age that they're looking for is Sam Bennett. But the chances of him coming there are
Yeah.
slim to none. I
I
just
mean,
think,
it would
right?
be one hell of a coup if you can get
Right.
him. I will not be upset if they wind up, opening the vault and giving him 8 mil a season. Yeah, that's a
Right.
lot. You're going to have to pay a lot to get him. But
Right.
if he comes in and plays the way that he plays and can do that
Yeah.
effectively for 5 out of 7 years, I'll be a happy guy. Hell,
Right.
I'll take 4 out of 7. We can
Well,
do
he's
the
one of those
buyout down the road.
guys, he's one of those guys that really plays in a
Hmm.
when the market's there and when the crowd's into it and everything, and you're not going to get a better place than Montreal for that. So
Yeah,
you could see. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but
no,
again, I'm the same way. I would not turn that down.
no. But your best bet, your better bet though, is what is going to fit best with your team's long range plan. And we talked about this before the show, and we said that Ken Hughes had kind of dropped a bit of a hint after the trade deadline, where he'd been asked, "Were you trying to get a second line center at the trade deadline?" And he said, "Well, that's not really the best time to get a player like that." Because you're going to end up overpaying. You look at the prices. You go and take a look at NHL Trade Tracker for the trade deadline, and look at how much some of these teams gave up for third line guys or
Yep.
guys who were barely NHL players,
Yep.
and what teams gave up to get these guys to stock their rosters. So no, I don't blame him for wanting to do that. But he said that he had been talking with other general managers, just kind of spitballing, uh, about some players who did not show up in the rumor mill leading up to the trade deadline.
Connor Bedard.
There we go. Connor's from Montreal, baby. There it is. There it is.
He'd be an okay second line center, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he'd be all
Yeah,
right. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He's
that's his
small, but
MO.
yeah, yeah. People can dream, right?
If he pulled that off, oh my God, give him
Yeah,
GM of the year right now.
that's right.
It's because
But
he kidnapped him. That's
yeah,
pretty
Yeah,
much it.
exactly.
yeah.
But I mean, that's
But
that's his MO. He does go for the guys that people aren't really
uh,
paying attention to.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you look at when he got Line A last summer. I mean, we heard Line A's name surface briefly in the rumor mill,
yeah,
and I think it was Renaud Lavoie who had mentioned him, but sort of in passing, right? He's a guy maybe that Ken Hughes might want to look at, but nobody seriously thought he'd get him,
right.
and then he did. The
Yeah,
Sean Monahan thing, that was
it came
completely
out of
out of left
nowhere.
field.
Yeah, even the
And at
Carrier
that
deal.
time, but at that time, Monahan was damaged goods, and we all thought, of, well, okay, we're just doing it to get the first round picks. And look how invaluable he turned out to be for 2 seasons for
Yeah,
Montreal's development
well,
in
then
the
flipped him for
development.
another first.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
So, I think that that's what he's looking for. But as I was telling you guys, I took a look on Puckpedia to see, okay, which teams have centers who are in their mid to late 20s under contract beyond next season and might be willing to trade them. And I was looking specifically at teams that had limited cap space, and it's not easy to find somebody that's an obvious that you look at. You know, it's just not. Um, one center that jumps out is like, oh, Braden Shen. Well, Braden Shen's 33. I mean, yeah, he's under contract for 3 more years, but he's 33,
right.
and he's not coming to Montreal. Sorry to burst people's bubbles, but he's not coming to Montreal. He's happy in St. Louis, got a full no trade. It drops to a 16 team no trade list on July 1st. But I'm willing to bet you a box of Tim Hortons donuts that Montreal is going to be on the no trade list. In
Right.
fact, I wouldn't be surprised if every Canadian team's on that no trade list. So some of these guys,
It's
they
not
get
going to be
down in the
easy.
States and get comfy, not having to live in that harsh spotlight. So,
Yeah.
Or the cold,
mm-hmm,
or the taxes.
mm-hmm.
Mostly the spotlight, though. The spotlight in
Mostly,
Montreal is bright.
it is. That's why it's always the ones who thrive the brightest are the ones who were drafted and developed and came up through there because they knew what to expect. For them, there was nothing else to compare it to, so it didn't come as a big shock. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the final question that I have is this. Is this season going to be considered a success for you?
Yes, I think it because they achieved their mission statement at the start of the season. They said we want to be playing meaningful games down the stretch, heading toward the playoffs. And, their play since the Four Nations ended, yeah, they've achieved it. Now, of course, we're still what 5, 6 weeks away from the end of the regular season. They could end up having another horrible losing skid. God forbid one of the core guys gets injured. Hopefully, would. Caden Gooley should be back soon, so that's a bit of a comfort. Anyway, that'll help them. But yeah, I think though, all things being the same, they keep doing the way they're doing, even if they narrowly miss it, if they narrowly miss the cut, they're right there. And that shows improvement, that shows development. The kids all got to play meaningful games so that it's like a playoff atmosphere. It
Right.
really is. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere in Montreal the rest of the way. If they're right in there jockeying with Detroit and the Rangers and Columbus and maybe even Ottawa if they don't pull too far ahead, and Boston even. I mean, if they keep
Yeah.
jockeying with these teams and stay right in the thick of that chase, even if they don't make it at the end of the season, that's progress. That is progress. Now you're there. Now, of course, that's going to set the bar high for next season. Next season, we will expect the playoffs if you come that close.
Yeah.
And if they
It's
make
gonna set the bar high for the or for the draft.
oh, big time,
Yes.
And in the
big
summer
time.
in the summer moves, right? Like
Yep,
what are you gonna do? You got this close and you met that statement, you played the meaningful games,
yep,
you got to take that next step. And it starts in the summer.
absolutely.
Especially when you have that potential franchise player arriving.
Oh my Lord. Yep. With Demidov coming in, if you can find, and we talked about this, as I said, if they can find that second line center to go with Demidov and Line on the second line, there you go. There you go. That should be enough. And with all the other experience they're getting, with the goaltending on defense, I mean, sure, you can make the case to try and maybe bring in another experienced D-man if you want. No, you don't trade Mike Matheson.
Oh, you only
Piss
do it if you're
off
guaranteed to get
everyone.
a massive piece.
Piss off everyone who says trade Mike Matheson. Well, his value is still high. His value is with the Canadiens right here, right now.
Who's to say he doesn't want to stay, re-sign on a team-friendly deal and stay for three
He's
more
a
years?
local boy. Come on.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
wants to be there. Jesus, don't be stupid.
Even if Savard goes, I can see them bringing in another veteran type
Sure.
to fill that
Yeah.
because yes, it's easy to say just throw Mayu in or
Mm,
throw in Reinbacher, but these are guys that just haven't played a lot of hockey in the last little while.
no,
And there's no sense of just saying, okay, you're in, this guy's
no,
out.
no.
Because we've seen what a veteran can do, like an Alex Carrier,
Yep.
that has really solidified any line that he's played on.
Yep. And once Gooley comes back, then we're going to see that pairing again of
Yeah,
Carrier and Gooley that were playing so well during that big surge they had.
right.
That was a big part of that through mid-December into mid-January before Gooley got hurt. So, yeah, I can certainly see them bringing in, like you were saying, an experienced defenseman and giving Reinbacher and perhaps Mayu more time, especially Reinbacher, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
he
going to need
needs
more
it. He
time.
really
Yeah,
he does.
needs
he
it.
He
really
does.
does. Yeah. And we don't give up on him. I don't believe, I mean, unless the return is just, if that return is going to be like just a mint second line center who's got 4 or 5 years left on his contract, and we all
Yeah,
go,
you
oh,
make the
wow,
deal.
he's great, then yes,
Yeah,
you include him in that deal. He's worth it.
yeah,
But if not, yeah, let's take our time, develop that kid, give him time.
yeah.
But yeah, but it's definitely going to be the priority, of course, will be the second line center.
There you go. So that's pretty much everything for this episode that I had prepped. Um, any final thoughts, Matt?
The only other thing I'll throw in, we talked about the meaningful games for the Montreal Canadiens. The guys that aren't there, that now can go down maybe at the end of the season if they don't make the playoffs, with how well the Val's playing and how meaningful that's going to be for them to have the
Mm,
potential for a long run. That's what I'm
yeah.
looking for. That's what I'm looking forward to, regardless of where the Canadians finish at the end of the season. I think that it would just be incredible for guys like Mayu and Owen Beck and
Hmm.
Dobish and those kind of guys to
Yep.
really take that next step forward in their careers.
Absolutely. I mean, well, listen, that's something that, people were wondering why the Anaheim Ducks went and acquired Ville Husso from Detroit. And the reason why was because one of their goalies was injured, and they wanted to bring an experienced guy in there as a backup because their farm team, the San Jose Gulls, are heading for the playoffs.
Right.
And they want their young players who are down on the farm and those who may be in the lineup right now we're going to end up heading down to the AHL after the regular season's over for them to get that experience. So it's the same thing, Matt, what you're talking about. That's what Anaheim is doing as well. So yeah, absolutely you do that. You want these guys to get a taste of what it's like, especially if you can stage a deep run in the Calder Cup playoffs. Oh my God. Yeah, that's
Right.
that's invaluable. You're giving these guys a taste of what it's like to be a winner or to at least, pursue a
Right.
championship.
Right.
Well, look at
One.
what the Hamilton Bulldogs did for the Canadiens over the years
Oh
after they won the
yes.
Calder Cup in '09.
Yeah.
One more thing. Do Suzuki and Montembeault go to the World Championships?
I think they should.
Yeah.
I think Suzuki will. If they miss the playoffs, I think Suzuki will go. He wanted to be part of the Four Nations. I
And he
think he
wants
was
to.
just, I mean, he realistically he knew that his chances were slim, but he wanted to be there. He wanted to be part of it. So if Canada comes calling, I think he goes. And I think Montembeault probably goes too because I mean, okay, he was with the Four Nations team, but he didn't play.
Yeah.
So,
Try to keep your name on the radar for the Olympic team.
Yeah,
Both of them.
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and that's what they're looking forward to at this point, past all the playoff talk, and
Hmm.
all the players are looking ahead to that.
Yeah.
They'll lie and say they're not, but we all know they are.
Absolutely. Well, and listen,
Um,
if you looked at the Four Nations for Team Canada, there's going to be some guys that were on that Four Nations team who are not going to be there for
yeah,
next for the Olympics.
Right.
Sorry, Brad Marchand.
it's true.
No, I'm not saying
It's
Um,
that to
true
be
though.
snarky.
It's
It's
true
like,
though. It's true
sorry,
though.
it's true.
Brad. Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much it. I just want to remind everybody to check out our sponsors, BioSteel and No Name Hockey, uh, both Canadian companies. And for our Canadian listeners and friends, remember, elbows up. And for everybody, I want to thank you very much for tuning in, listening, sharing, interacting with us, all of it. We really do appreciate it. And remember, if you're talking about it, so are we.